This is a tale of two men. Two very different men from opposite sides of the globe, drawn together by fate and compassion. Jess Owen reporting. Each year the Budrum Craft Cottage's Easter Market attracts people from all over the Sunshine Coast. The atmosphere is relaxed and friendly, and the variety of goods available is testament to the skill and creativity of the artists who made them. But for one vendor, Gunnar the day means more than art, commerce and celebration. For him, this day is about saving lives. Dawn hasn't broken yet in Johannesburg, but Eddie has already begun his work. He's tired, but he has to spend these hours of darkness creating his art, because he will need all the daylight hours trying to sell it. Without money for proper equipment, Eddie recycles anything he can find, even Coke bottles and garbage bags, to create his special art. When the sun rises, he makes his way into town and tries to hawk his wares at traffic intersections. Eddie is a refugee from Zimbabwe, and the South African government has forbidden him and his countrymen from working or opening a market stall. He keeps a constant watch for any police uniforms, and if he spots them in time, he throws his handiwork over the fence to avoid getting caught. It's a dangerous and frustrating way to make a living, but in a country where 70% of people are out of work, Eddie has no other choice. The situation in Zimbabwe is so much worse. Agricultural productivity has fallen sharply. There is widespread corruption, violence and death. As well, Zimbabwe has one of the largest populations affected by HIV/AIDS in the world. It's a horrible place to live. So people like Eddie have left their wives and families behind and moved to countries like South Africa. But South Africans have stereotyped Eddie and his countrymen as economic migrants, men who work illegally in South Africa to send money back home, and they refuse to give them refugee status. Forbidden to work, poor, and with nowhere else to go, Eddie struggles to stay alive. On the other side of the world, the Sunshine Coast is far removed from such problems. While many sympathise with the plight of people like Eddie, what can they do about it? Gunnar, that retired pensioner peddling his artwork at a small Budrum market, has found a way. Gunnar's son studied agriculture at the Gatton campus of the University of Queensland, and when he finished his degree, did what many young people do and travelled the world. He found himself in Johannesburg, where he came face to face with Eddie.
Yeah, well, my son was living over there, and he knew Eddie, and he saw him selling his wares each day. And one day he went up to him and he said, "Look, mate, I reckon that I can find you a market for these goods."
And so it began. Eddie would make the beautiful African artwork, Anthony would ship it back to the Sunshine Coast, and Gunnar would sell it at local markets. The business flourished.
Yeah, well, it's gone really well. Now we've got, I reckon a dozen South African, Zimbabwean and artists from the Congo, all supplying us with various forms of art. We're in Mullaney, and a couple of shops here in Mullaney stock our products, and we're at the Mullaney markets every Saturday, as well as events like this one. And the internet. We sell lots of things over our website.
The profits all go back to Africa, with some money put aside for the training and development of more artists. It's amazing to think that this little stall and this very special man at the Budrum Craft Cottage Easter Fair are single-handedly sustaining the lives of a dozen refugees halfway across the globe. How many other unsung heroes are out there, waiting to have their stories told? I suspect not very many, with the courage, compassion and determination of Gunnar and his son. Jess Owen reporting.